Hi everyone, how's it going? Second session of the day. Hopefully still have a lot of room left in our brains for learning. Maybe by the end of day 2 that'll be a different story. Did everybody have fun at their welcome event yesterday? Yay, good. Well, we're here today to talk about VR and AR. There's tons of VR options in CET Designer, and I'll be covering a few of the popular ones, a few of the ones that take a little bit more know-how to get the hang of. And then we have Praxik here who will be talking about their AR solution, which is fabulous. So I'll be sharing half the presentation time with them, and we'll be covering VR and AR. So first VR component I'm going to talk about is our VR virtual viewer, which would be used with an Oculus Rift headset or an HTC Vive headset. Does anybody use this currently? Nod, one nod, a couple people. Okay, cool. So this one is pretty cool. To use this, you would have a certain extension installed, which the extension's free. It's the virtual viewer extension. And then you may see the virtual viewer VR extension as well in the marketplace. The virtual viewer is an extension that can be used without the headset, and you would use it just to walk around your space. It's kind of like a live fly-through option. It wouldn't be rendered or anything like that, but it's a really smooth walking through your drawing option. You would use Virtual Viewer VR if you actually want to then use the Oculus Rift headset or the HTC Vive along with it. So I'm going to show you that now. Again, that extension's free from the marketplace. Let me get into demo mode. I'll close this for now so we can start from the beginning. So what's really sweet about Virtual Viewer and Virtual Viewer VR, you don't have to do anything different to your drawing. You don't have to create anything specific or do anything specific to use Virtual Viewer VR. Whatever is in your 3D drawing view at that time, that's what you're going to see in the Virtual Viewer VR. So that's kind of nice, not having to do any extra work or any extra steps to get it going. Now, when you want to use the Virtual Viewer, you'll go to your lovely Virtual Viewer extension. And then this one seems like it's kind of a lonely extension. There's just one icon in there, but you're going to follow that icon. So you're going to click the icon that you see in there. And that's going to open up your virtual viewer. Now the virtual viewer, again, if you're going to use the headset, then you'll want to walk around in that headset. And am I looking? Yes, I am. You can either use your keyboard, and that's what's showing up there, the option for using your keyboard to walk around in that virtual viewer space, or you can use an Xbox controller that would have a receiver plugged into your computer. If you get the hang of your keyboard, it's actually not bad at all, and I don't mind using the keyboard to walk around in the virtual viewer. But it is nice to have the Xbox controller too, so if this is something you're more comfortable with, it's really easy to use, and I would recommend it. So that's what this initial window is going to open, just telling you, here's how you walk around, here's how you move around in your virtual viewer. Now when it does initially open, come on. It's not even Monday. We shouldn't be having technical difficulties today. We're only a small. When it does open, I'm using my keyboard keys to move around right now. So that's WASD and then your arrow keys. So I am using my keyboard keys to walk around right now. So again, if you're maybe not comfortable with the Xbox remote, that's totally fine. Use your keyboard. So this is me in just Virtual Viewer. It's not the headset at all. But this is definitely an option if you don't want to do the headset, but if you want something that will be kind of just, a nice, I'm going to pretend like I'm walking bang through that door. If you want something that can just kind of walk you through a space smoothly with the client without doing the orbit, zoom, pan kind of deal, if you're just in your regular 3D drawing space, this can be a nice option. And then R and F would be modifying your elevation. But again, you should be able to move around with the Xbox remote too if it's on and connected. Yeah, we'll have to get that connected there. So this is an option. If you don't want to use that headset, you don't have to. Just move around with your keyboard, and that's exactly what you see in the 3D view. Now, I have the fancy HTC Vive headset or the Oculus Rift, and I want to use it, and my clients heard all about it, and they visited the showroom, and they want to see their space in the headset. How does that work? So Same steps where you get that virtual viewer open, but this time you go to the settings in the upper left, and if you're just in normal view or normal option right here, this would be just the normal virtual viewer where you don't use a headset or anything like that. But what you would need to do to actually use the headset is make sure that you pop yourself into this VR option. That's what's going to allow the headset to start tracking your movements. Please work, please work, please work, please work. There we go. Okay, so now you see, here's my headset. Now this is the HTC Vive. The HTC Vive and Oculus Rift, as far as quality in here, they work pretty much the same. For some reason, most of us at Configura like this HTC Vive a little bit better. I think it sets up a bit easier. But with the HTC Vive, what you're going to have is 2 trackers tracking the movement of your headset. And then again, you can use the keyboard controls for moving around, or you can have the Xbox controller. So what would happen is, who wants to be my tester? Who wants to get in here? Okay, yes. Step right up. I'll have you sit, actually. You're going to want to have people sit when they're in this thing.
They pull over.
Has anybody ever been in a virtual viewer and you've been like on a roller coaster in there and you went like, whoa? That could happen in here. So it's better to sit, and you'll just put this on. Now what I like to do, what I like to tell people is once you get that on, look up, down, left, right, and kind of orient yourself in this space. So we are seeing what she is seeing. So if you have a bunch of people in the room and just one person, of course, is in the headset, they'll still be able to see what's going on in there. So I like to let people get oriented. And now, let's see. Now I'm going to start moving you around with the controller. You can certainly give the person in the headset the controller, and that could be beneficial if they're comfortable with it, because if you've ever been in virtual viewer, you know that you can get a little seasick. So if they're controlling themselves, it helps with that seasickness a little bit because they know where they're going. So if you're going to control them because they're like, I don't want to do this, then just kind of let them know where you're going. So I would say, hey, I am starting to move you into this space here. Come on. There we go. We're kind of moving. Only one of my directional things is working. We might want to use the controls here on the keyboard. You guys know how that goes. Make sure you're comfortable with the keyboard controls and the Xbox remote. So, that's an option. Bang through the walls here. But what the user in the headset can be doing is looking all around. So as you're moving, they get to decide where their head goes, and that's kind of a cool functionality there. So we can get to a space and you can say, hey, look all around. What do you think? What's cool about the virtual viewer is that, okay, let's say they're like, God, those couches look really tight. Are you sure this is a good spacing? I can actually click into the drawing. So you click into the drawing, the virtual viewer, that headset is going to kind of stop its movement. You're probably not going to see much going on. But I can actually scooch these back. I just want to make sure that I don't grab all of them. Okay, not you, table. The pillow's not going to come with it. You guys know how this goes. Okay, I can actually scooch that back. Now, I click back into the virtual viewer and they see that change happen instantly. So let's say we're in a space and we have a typical and the panels are really high. And we're like, I don't like that high panel look. Can we drop them down? You go into the drawing, you drop them down, they see that change happen instantly. And it's kind of a realistic feel when you're in there. Everybody goes like, reaches their hands out trying to touch things, like thinking it's like a real thing. So this can really help if, do you guys ever do those like physical mock-ups of your space? This can help with that, where you don't actually have to create the physical mock-up, just use the virtual viewer, and they get a really good feel for the space there. Okay, thank you for participating. Hopefully you're not feeling seasick for the rest of the day. Any questions on virtual viewer VR? Yes?
I'm sorry, what did you say the keyboard keys were to move?
WASD, that's your forward, left, right, back. Your arrow keys are your actual head movements. And then R and F is your elevation. Good question.
Sorry, arrow keys are head movements?
Head, so your head's going to swivel to the left and right. And then R is going to move you up, F's going to move you down.
The original document that you showed the controls on, will you get that?
That you can pull back up in the settings, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, so if you want to pull that back up, go to the settings in the upper left and choose the little question mark next to movement, and that will pull that back up.
And then how do you get that Xbox controller to?
Good question. So you want to use the Xbox controller. In your, I think this comes with both of them, at least for the Oculus Rift. It actually comes with the Xbox and a little receiver here. So you plug the little receiver in, and then when you have that little receiver plugged in, what you do is you make sure this is turned on. I will tell you a million times, I did not have this turned on. I was like, my controller's not working. Then you go to settings in the upper left, and you choose connect. There is a little button on the receiver too. You need to hold that little button down just to make sure that it's kind of ready for pairing type of thing.
Is it always going to be an unrendered space?
Yes.
Do you always keep it that slow?
I like it slow because the faster you go, the more seasick you get. Because again, if you're not controlling yourself, you're not familiar with who's, it's kind of like when you're the driver, you don't get car sick, hopefully, but if you're sitting in the back seat, you might get car sick because you don't really know where the car's going. So if people feel comfortable controlling themselves, I would let them. If they don't, that's why I would keep the speed really slow, just so that the movement's not happening super quickly.
Can you put a ceiling on or no?
Yeah, you can put a ceiling on. You absolutely can.
In the presentation, do you think it's helpful to have this virtual viewer up so everyone else can see what they're doing, or since it's shaky, take it off?
I think everybody wants to see what's in there, so it is very common to still have that view up. What I like to tell people is it kind of looks like the perspective's not quite right when you're viewing it here on the screen, but it is a lot better in the headset. So I would tell people like, hey, if you just, you want to watch what's going on, because you'll have people in here asking questions about a certain area. So you want to make sure the rest of the audience knows what they're talking about. So what I like to say is, once you get your turn in here, it's going to look a lot better. But at least they can see what's happening in the headset currently, and they won't kind of be in the dark about it.
Do you have suggestions on drawing size limits or sections to keep it from crashing? Like, would you do a whole floor plate or just do sections of it?
If it's possible to do a smaller area, that's definitely better. So if you have a couple floors, I would be a little wary of that. I would try to put maybe put those floors in separate drawings, because even just having them all together in the same, if they're in the same drawing but different alternatives, that can still even put a bit of a strain on it. So you will want to be careful. As you can see, our drawing is a little bit smaller and it handles it pretty decently, but the bigger you get, the harder it's going to handle it. And that's where maybe you use some of the different VR or AR options instead.
I have a wireless mouse. When I have that plugged in with the Xbox, sometimes it causes problems. Have you ever found that?
I don't know if I have found that, because we use wireless quite a bit. I wonder if it was an issue with the receiving, where they were competing with each other a little bit. I haven't. Chat into support though. See if they have better information on that one. That's a good question.
Can we use another kind of headset, or you really need this one?
You can use the HTC Vive, which is this one, or the Oculus Rift. That's an option too. Yep.
Another question was asked if this ever gets rendered. Is there ever a rendered option or no?
There's not a rendered option, because if those frames had to render, you would not be able to move around quickly at all. You know, like when you wait for a movie to render, every single one of those frames has to render before you can view it. That's what would need to happen here. Not to say that the quality couldn't be maybe a little bit better. I don't know what's in the works there, but currently this is how it's planned to be.
Do you use the real-time light setting or do you turn that off?
Oh, definitely keep that off. That real-time light setting uses so much resources that you would have a real hard time moving around in here. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next virtual reality option, which is definitely one of my favorite options. And then if you guys do have more questions about this at the end, we can take those if there's time. But let's move on to the next one, which is 360 renderings. Who's done some 360 renderings in here? A couple of you? I love 360 renderings. I think they're really sweet. I like them because it's that rendered quality that we've all been asking questions about, like, hey, that's not rendered quality. And no, it's not. This option is good for if we're still in the space planning kind of conceptual phase where we're just trying to get things right, or we're trying to get a typical right with their happy, you know, with panel heights and things like that. This is a good phase for that. But when you want to show them like the finished Mac Daddy version of what they're going to get, I kind of like to move on to a 360 rendering because, again, the quality is actually rendered. And it's pretty impressive. And if you pair this with one of our partner companies, Ulio, you can do some awesome things with 360 renderings. So, a 360 rendering, okay, this phone just beeped at me. I want to make sure nothing's happening here. Battery low. Okay, I'm going to start sending this around right now. Just take a look at it. Do you guys want to? You're like, we're good. We've seen it. So, a 360 rendering. A 360 rendering is a rendering that gets created in Photolab. So you don't have to have any additional functionality or extension or anything just to create the 360. It happens right in Photolab. And what a 360 rendering is a cube map of renderings. So picture a cube. It's 6 sides, your front, back, left, right, up, and down. That's what forms a cube or a room. That's what a cube map rendering is. And once those 6 renderings finish, they do actually form a cube, you could say. And you get planted in the middle of that space, and you can then look around to see a 360-degree rendered view. Now with 360 renderings, again, you can see ceilings, floors, behind you, left, right. It's not just this front view that we're used to rendering. So a lot of times with renderings, we make sure this view looks really nice, but maybe we didn't pay attention to what was behind us. We didn't pay attention if there was a ceiling or not. That's not the case with 360 renderings. Since you can see the entire space, you do need to make sure that entire space is finished. Otherwise, it's going to look pretty odd when you look up and see the sky, unless your entire ceiling is glass, which, I mean, maybe, I don't know. But you do, again, need to make sure that you do have kind of a fully finished space there. Then when you want to create the 360, you'll go into Photolab. You do need to do this from the advanced mode. So you need to make sure you're in the advanced mode of Photolab. In the photograph setup, so we're on the left-hand side of Photolab. In the photograph setup, here you can see your 360 panorama or your 360 with natural light. Always use the 360 with natural light. That's going to make the rendering look a little bit more realistic because you're actually going to get that natural light coming in, producing shadows, which is pretty realistic for a space. So I always like to use the 360 with natural light just to, again, get a realistic view. Now after 360 with natural light, there's only a few things that are going to be different in advanced mode that you would set. Otherwise, it's just the same as you would go through any advanced rendering. All those settings are the same. There's just a few things that I like to point out if you are trying to create a 360 rendering versus just that static one that you would typically see. What you'll want to make sure that you do is, of course, come down to the 360 section. You're only going to see this 360 section if you choose 360 from this list. If you choose contour image, normal, or natural, you'll see that 360 section completely goes away. So you'll choose the actual 360 option here in render mode, then come down to the 360 panorama section, and this is where you choose your resolution. So low res, don't use it. You'd never want to use that because that's not going to be anywhere near a good quality rendering that you want. Only use low res if you're trying to test a few things, but that will not be your finished product, low res. Your other option is My Configura. So you can view these renderings from a My Configura briefcase. That's a free option for viewing 360 renderings. So if you plan to just put this in a briefcase and view it from there, you would choose My Configura. Now, the highest one is Ulio. Ulio, again, is one of our partners, and they've created kind of a platform for hosting these 360 renderings. Ulio is a paid subscription. There's tons of awesome features, and you do get to choose this highest resolution because of it. So I think it's worth it to get that Ulio subscription because of that high resolution option and because of the features that come along with Ulio. But if you just want to test 360s out, if you're not sure if you're on board with them yet, Start with the My Configura option and then maybe you move on to Ulio after that. So you need to choose your resolution option here. Everything else is the same until you get down to this camera section, which we're used to seeing the camera section. One thing that you might want to do in camera is change your perspective. So sometimes when you view those 360s, they look kind of like fisheye, a little bit like a fisheye where you can kind of see that aquarium tank view. If you switch your perspective to 20, that can take away that fisheye look. So putting the perspective at 20 takes it all the way down. But again, that can get rid of that fisheye effect. Now, if you don't really notice the fisheye effect or you have no issues with it, keep the perspective at 30. It's just an option. And then lighting and shadows. The one thing I want to touch on here is this camera line. You need to keep this at 0. If you try to move this anywhere, you're actually going to get a message when you try to render saying, don't use camera. So keep camera at 0 to compensate, excuse me, to compensate for not being able to use camera. Maybe you bump up your sunlight a little bit. Maybe you actually just bump up the overall total amount of light a little bit to compensate for not being able to use your camera. But after that, you hit render. Now remember, this is a cube map. This is 6 renderings. So this is going to take 6 times as long as a normal rendering would. You have to keep that in mind. And what it's going to do is that view that you see in the preview area, that's your front view. The view behind you, left, right, up, down, those views get created automatically. What I like to do, just so I have an idea of what those additional 5 views are going to look like, you can actually move around by holding Control and your right mouse click. If you do Control and your right mouse click, see how that keeps your feet planted and it's just your head that's moving around? That is exactly how you're viewing that 360. Your feet stay planted and your head moves around. So I like to do that Control, right mouse click, and I like to turn around like 180 degrees, because notice how my back view is going to be that solid wall. I'm almost inside it. So I would want to make sure that this is not the view that I end up with, because that would be the view behind me. So I would need to I would want to change my view a little bit before I render, maybe move it right here. And then when I do the Control right mouse click and move all the way around, that's when I can see if I have a good view. So this view is looking a little bit better. I see that I'm not like inside any walls or inside a table. I'm kind of close to that window, but I think I'll be fine. Now, once you hit render, again, that's 6 renderings that are going to happen. Once those 6 renderings finish, they're going to show up in a line here in PhotoLab. You're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's going to look really funny in this preview area. This is not where you're meant to view the 360. Where you're meant to view the 360 is on this smartphone that's being passed around, or you upload it to a briefcase and you view it there, or you upload it to Ulio and you view it there. And I just want to show you guys Ulio really quickly because it's awesome. The functionalities in Ulio are really, really sweet. I think it's worth the subscription. But once you do get that rendering finished, so once you see the outline around the rendering switch to green, so we know we have a finished rendering here, this button actually at the bottom of post-processing, instead of saying save, it switches to read export. And it's going to be a pull down, and you choose that little export option. You can export straight to Ulio if you use Ulio, or you can save it as a VR JPEG file format. That is the file format your 360 has to be in order to be viewed properly. So again, that's vr.jpeg. So you can just save it as that if you want in order to like upload it to a My Configura briefcase, for instance. But let me show you Ulio and the cool functionalities in there. Oh, we're already in this thing. Let's end it because you guys are going to do this too. So in Ulio, you can upload those renderings directly to Ulio if you would like. And then you can view them in Ulio. So let me show you an example of a 360, viewing it in Ulio. Come on. There it is. All right, so you can view 360s right from a desktop, as you can see, and you just move around using your mouse. So I'm just clicking and dragging, and this is me viewing a 360. So if I don't want to view it from a smartphone like you guys have seen passing around here, you don't have to. You can do it right here from a desktop. So this is a 360. Now what's cool about Ulio, this is a functionality specific to Ulio. Do you guys see these little dots here? These are hotspots. Those are additional 360s that I can jump to see other 360 renderings. So let's jump to, there's tons of them in here, it's crazy. Let's go all the way up here. Jump to 11. These are all separate 360s that are, yeah. That's part of the Ulio functionality. It's called a hotspot editor, and it lets you add these little locations in the 360 that basically links a bunch of 360 renderings together. So you can actually get like a full-on walkthrough of a space using that. And if I was viewing this 360 with hotspots in the headset, you just stare at the little dots that you want to move to, and it will jump you to those different locations. So you can, again, kind of render, let's go way up here. You can render your entire space using 360s and just link each of those 360 views together by just using hotspots. So these are all just a bunch of 360s. And again, if I was using a smartphone, I would just be moving my head all around to see those different views. Yeah. Yep. Ulio will let you email a link, and they can go to that link from their desktop, from their smartphone, anything like that, and just start viewing. It's pretty sweet. You do have to take the time to create the renderings, but once you do, having this output to show your clients is kind of impressive. Now another cool functionality that Ulio has, okay, I have 3 minutes, so another cool functionality that Ulio has is a collaborate option, and this one is sweet, and this one's going to require your participation. The collaboration option basically lets you start a live stream where you're viewing the same 360 rendering. So everybody get out their smartphones, and you're going to go to live.ulio.com. You have to go to this because you have to be able to enter in that code. So when you get to live.ulio.com, enter in that code that you see there. It's BUL2. And I'm going to choose Start Collaborating. If you don't have that code entered in yet, it's going to still show off to the left. So here's your code. Once you get to live.ulio.com, there's your code, BUL2. Let me choose the rendering I want you guys to see. Okay, now, if you're all in there on your phone, you should be able to start seeing this rendering. And see all the people that have joined here? These are all people that are viewing this rendering now. So if you have your phone, you can actually be moving around and seeing the rendering. Is that working for anybody? Yeah? That's kind of cool, isn't it? I can make other people presenters. So if I want to see what you're seeing, maybe we're on a Skype call because my client is across the nation and we're on a Skype call right now viewing this. So we're on a Skype call, and let's say they're like, hey, I'm looking over here. I'm like, where? I can make you the presenter, and then I see what you're doing. But let's say we're all looking in 5 million different areas, and I'm like, hey, everybody, we're looking in this area. Bring it back in. I can use this spotlight option, and that's going to bring everybody back to the same view, so then we can be like, hey, we got to talk about this area really quick here before we can move on and go all over the place. So that's just part of that Ulio subscription as well. Kind of cool.
You're not, I'm sorry, there's no hotspots on it. That's what I was, yeah.
The hotspots don't show up through the Collaborate. That is probably one of the, let me see if I hop to one if you guys see it. Let me see, I'm gonna hop to one, and you guys see it? So the presenter would have to do the controlling of moving to the different hotspots, which maybe that's not a bad thing. Because with this rendering, there's 20-something hotspots in it, and you could have one person at hotspot 29 and one person at 1, and yeah, you probably all kind of want to be in the same spot. Oh, that's your spotlight. So you click spotlight in the upper right, and that's going to reset that view so everybody is all looking at the same spot. Okay, and that is a half hour. Are we ready to learn about AR? That was just VR. We've done some webinars and we've done some live streams on it. Ooh, sorry, I'm covering up my microphone here. And this one is recorded right now too, so you can watch it in the follow-up. But yeah, we've done some webinars and demos. Let me think. Julio has them too? Okay. So Julio has probably a help article section. I would check that out.
I seem to remember when this was rolled out that there was like a cheap cardboard viewer.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this viewer costs $20 on Amazon. This isn't anything special. It's just running off of whatever smartphone you choose to put in here, which for us, we didn't want to use our actual phones in here, so we just went on eBay and bought some decent phones, and they're specifically for 360 viewing. You don't have to have them connected to service or anything. You just need them connected to Wi-Fi, because then you go download the Julio app, and that's all you need. So if you want like a burner phone used just for 360s at your dealership, you can easily do that. We have like 8 of these. All right, but yeah, you can get even cheaper if you want, but there's some really nice ones for very inexpensive. Yeah, this one, I don't know, it just got good reviews on Amazon. Sneba, S-N-E-B-A is the one we use. All right, let's learn about AR.
Can I steal that HDMI cord?
You absolutely can, yes. I think it's in the... Welcome to VR. Lots of plugs.
All right, well, while Charlie's setting up, really quick, just wanted to introduce myself. Hello, everyone. My name is Anna, and I'm here with Charlie, and Luke is in the back. We're from Praxik. We're an augmented reality company out of Minneapolis. And before we begin, just to know, how many of you are actually using Instant AR today? 1, 2, 3, try, 2.5, okay. Well, sounds good. Well, with that, let's do a live demo first, so we can actually show you the product first, and then I'll jump back to the slides. I think it'll just make more sense after the demo when you know what the product is. But what we did last year in Vegas, we did a demo, and people loved it. It's augmented reality, so now it's kind of cool for you to compare VR relative to AR, see pros and cons, and understand which one would be more appropriate in which situations for you and your colleagues. So we will do the demo of our second most recent extension, Instant AR Pro. So what Charlie is doing here, we opened CET Designer, and you have a simple design made. And then Charlie is gonna click on the extension. And what you're seeing now is actually very new. It hasn't been released. So for those 2.5 that have seen it, this is our update that will happen in a few days. But it's giving you several options. How would you like to export your current design to an iPhone or iPad? And that would mean dropping that design in the physical space where you are right now. Before, you had only 2 options. You could send a text, so you would just type the phone number, or you would get a link that you could send maybe to someone in your sales rep that is going to show it to a client in their meeting, or maybe someone who needs that link to look at the design at a different time. Now we're adding 2 additional tools. We're adding emails, so now you can email directly from the extension, and a QR code, and we will show you how that works. So what Charlie will do now, let's show them the QR code. He's gonna share the screen of our iPhone, so you will see the iPhone screen as well. And we're using Reflector. If you would like to take this process and apply for a live demo within your client meetings, We hear several stories of in different dealerships that are doing this now. So you're gonna share the screen of your phone, and all you do now, which is your iPhone is capable today, it's inside your camera already. You do not need to download anything to read QR code. It's already inside your iPhone. You activate the camera. All right. So many things opened. So what happens, you just open your camera like you're gonna take a picture, but you're not gonna take a picture, just activating camera and pointing your device to this QR code. All right?
There we go.
All right. So you're just pointing, and your phone grabs the link of that design right away. You click on that link, and it will guide you to get inside Instant AR app. And the app part is free, so you can use it, your clients can use it, multiple users. You're inside Instant AR. If you haven't downloaded the app, it will prompt you to download the app first. If you have it, you will be inside Instant AR app, and all it does, you need to be in a lighter space. When this square is solid, that means the phone recognized the surface. Then you just tap on that square, and it will grab that design that you just had inside CT Designer, and it will be dropping in this physical space. Now, this is the difference between VR, where everything what you're doing is digital. It's very detail-oriented, and it will take you time. This is very quick, and you can do it while you're talking to your client. So you have someone with CET, show them a design like we're doing now, and the client might say, can I see this? Oh, hold on, Charlie.
I'm getting really excited.
Yeah, sorry, we need to be slow. I mean, we know Instant AR, right? But it really helps to expedite the conversation to get to faster for clients to say yes to your proposed design. And we often hear that you're using this tool when you're in the early conversations with the clients, and you say, well, is this something that you're having in mind? Well, how about we maybe change the style a little bit, and then someone, boom, 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 makes a new design. Then you point the device to your laptop screen, and let me show you, is this what you're having in mind? So literally, you can have really quick conversations. And on the other hand, client is like, oh, this is now my design, because you are showing me I kind of made this design too. So they are more engaged in those conversations. This is where you would like your clients to be more engaged and feel the ownership of the design that you're showing you. Now we're gonna jump to other part. So we have two extensions. The first extension that we demoed at CT last year, I had to think, Vegas. If you were there, we demoed this for the first time. And the reaction was very positive. We were there just to say, do you want this? And after this first session, we got over 100 business cards. When can I test it? So we had a lot of beta testers, and we released the first extension in February, so really a few months later. And the basic Instant AR, which just allows you to drop the design and view it. But after we released it, we got a lot of feedback. Well, can we do more things with it? It feels like there's more tools that could be in there. So we included 2 more tools that now Charlie will demo. One of them is the scale, which he did. You reduce the size of the design. And what we hear users are doing this, maybe you have a larger design or bigger space, or the space has furniture so you don't have enough physical space to drop the design. So you can say, how about I drop it on the table and then reduce it 1 to 5, 1 to 20, or a custom number, and then you can still engage the client. Okay, I'm envisioning your kitchen area to be in this corner, private offices in this. Here's the middle where it would be more open space. Is this how you're envisioning your space? Well, I kind of like my kitchen to be in the other corner. Okay, let's rotate. So you can rotate, and you, again, engaging the client. The other feature that we released in the Pro version is the slider. And all it allows you to view the space with and without the design. And one of the stories that we heard, one of the sales reps literally dropped a chair and they said, for extra $50, you can have this versus what you're having now. And the user compared side by side, and that again helped to upgrade their sale. All right, any questions so far?
If you have multiple settings, can you rotate them independently of each other?
No, because it takes the entire design and you're dropping that design. There is a way for you to send only a portion of your design as a different link.
So you don't need any special equipment, you just need to pay for the extension, right?
Extension, and you need an iPhone 6s or above as the model, or 2017 iPad.
Okay, and then how much is the extension?
The basic one is $50 per license per year, and the Pro is $150 a year.
Per person, per seat?
Yes. All right, so now we're gonna go back. The other thing that I wanted to show you, can you take a picture? So you have ability to take pictures and videos. So when you're doing those demos, maybe your client is not in the same space, or you wanna send an email as a reminder or follow up. It's like, we showed you 3 designs, which one, clicks with you? So you can take pictures and they're just saved on your device. And then you can access them and use them as additional file that you can include in emails and proposals and so forth. Your social media, websites, we'll start seeing them in a lot of places. All right, so that was the picture. All right, so we're now gonna jump back to the slides because I think now slides will make a little bit more sense. And what I have in the slides, actually, we have, as last week, 410 users. About 51% are dealers, and they come from all manufacturers. So it's very, very good to see that people are using this in different locations across different manufacturers. So I reached out to all of the users and I said, tell me how you're using Instant AR. Is it working for you? What do you like? What do you don't like? What else would you like to have inside Instant AR? So I'm gonna share some of those stories that I gathered from the current users. All right, so let's go next. So we have 2 extensions, which is the cost inside CET Marketplace. The app, there's the only one app, and that app is free. And there's a reason for it. We hear that people are sharing the app, the links with their clients, and you don't want to say to your client, well, this is a great tool, but it's gonna cost you. We don't like that. So for that reason, we said, you know what, we're gonna make that free so you can share with as many people, as many clients as you'd like. 2 different extensions, but they go to the same app. The home page is a list of all those links. And depending from which extension you're getting those links sent from, you will see Pro as a text, meaning that link comes from the Pro extension. So when you view that link, you have the slider, you have the scale, those additional features. If that link was made using the basic extension, there'll be no Pro, and you'll just be able to drop it, walk around it, rotate it, take a picture, but you won't be able to scale it down or slide it. All right, so here are the most common usage from Instant AR current users. We hear that it's being very heavily used in the presentations. And those presentations are live demos with the current clients, potential clients, internal meetings, maybe a designer meets the sales rep, and they are just touching base before the sales rep goes to meet the client, or the sales rep comes back from the meeting and is like, okay, this is the conversation I had with the client. Can you make different changes to the design? And also the management team is using it when they're making some decisions. The showroom, this is a very new thing. I never thought of this, but it again comes from a designer, a dealer that I will share actually their story. But they're beginning using Instant AR in the physical space. Your dealerships are, to some shape or form, are showrooms, but you don't have enough space to have every possible piece and product in your space. You might have a few examples, but what if the client asks you something that you physically don't have there? So you can say, great question, how about I show you that digitally? And the story that I heard, the dealer actually took the client to the manufacturer showroom and used Instant AR there. And I'll share that story. Typicals is another way of how Instant AR is used. So anything you can create inside CAT, you have the control to drop it in the physical space. Shared content, because you can take pictures and movies, you can again have that content for your proposals, for your emails, anything that will remind your client what you showed them. So it's a great reminder. Another story that I heard was, well, my client is very far away, we cannot physically meet. So what else can I do? How can I show them the design? And I said, you know what, your office is beautiful, why don't you drop the design there and record that process of you dropping, walking around, talking over, describing the design, and then send that as a file to your client. So they would have that as a demo. All right, so this is the QR code, and if you have phones, you can play with, you need iPhone, sorry. So you can literally open your camera and point, and you get the link. So now you will be prompted to Instant AR app, and when you download the app, you will have a model preloaded with the app itself. So just for you to get that experience, how simple it is to get from computer screen to the device, really, really quick. All right, I also want to mention with this QR code, the story that the way it started was at NeoCon, we tested the idea, and people said, you know what, I can use it as a print material that I can generate different QR codes, print them as labels in my space so my client can walk in. It's like, oh, I like it, but how will I remember this? So they literally would point the device and then they walk away with that design in their pocket. So you want your client to remember the conversation. What do you show them? And that's a great way, as you're walking away with the app, they would walk away with your design. All right. All right, so a few tips that come from emails that we're getting from users who may not be very familiar with augmented reality and need a little bit help from us. And those are the questions that we get a lot. How to use it, when it's appropriate to use it. Well, Instant AR is AR app. And for augmented reality to work, you need a few different settings to have in the space in order to work. First is lighting. You need a good light in the space. When it's dark, the phone will not be able to see where the floor is or table is. So one of the dealers I know, when she goes to dark places, she walks with a lamp. She literally has a lamp. It's like, okay, I need power outlet. Okay, now I can place in the design. Typically it's when the building is under construction, brand new. You don't have light installed yet. It's better when it's non-glossy surface because the light is reflected. So then again, the camera cannot detect where the floor is. I know one dealership that I visited, they have very glossy wood floor. So what they do, they would drop the design where they have carpet, but then they drag it where they want it to be in reality, because you can drag the design. We recommend, I know a few dealerships buy iPads specifically for using Instant AR because of a larger screen, but we still see more people using it on iPhones, just because a lot of people have iPhones than iPads. But a few dealerships, that's the expense that would be for using Instant AR is buying iPads specifically to have like a sales rep to have for showing Instant AR. And we recommend more megapixels if you're planning on taking pictures. Get a device with more RAM if you have larger designs. If you have a very complex and large design, it will take a while to upload that inside the app. So we recommend that with more RAM. And there's a way, if using alternatives, you can select which piece of the design you want to send. So maybe you have a very large design, but it's in reality maybe 20 very similar spaces. But when you have conversation with the client, you just want to get a yes or no do they like that style? So why do I need to show them all like the large design? I want to show them maybe a quarter of that design. So then using alternatives, you can select and then have that link only for a quarter of that design. All right, and I'm gonna now, stories from the users. I have been able to use Instant AR in 2 client situations so far, including one where the client requested a custom private office mockup within 5 days. Unfortunately, a realistic time frame for production. Thanks to Instant AR, we were able to walk them through the manufacturer's showroom to review the product and also be able to show them their exact typical for evaluation, all without the cost and headache of a custom mockup. So here's a real example how Instant AR can work in combination in the physical space.
That's me.
Thank you! That's awesome! Hi! I was like, I hope she'll be here. So she knows that I actually used it. There you go, talk to her. All right, we're gonna show one more. Be careful with 0 point. Remove it or place it inside on the edge of your typical. I had project with large floor plan, and when I exported my office, I couldn't find it. Walked around with my iPad and finally was able to see it on the roof of another building. Funny story to share. So again, you can have a lot of fun with this, but I really like this session because you can see VR and AR side by side and see which one would work best for you. But this is the one that is simple, quick, not a lot of tools that you need to, or money, or the cost of starting it. And we have free trial, first 30 days are free. I think Julio, do they have trials?
I'm not sure if Julia does or not.
Okay,
We'll
Free version for one rendering.
for one rendering. So you can still try both and get a feel how you like VR, AR, when and how to use it. And the app is free, so you can have as many users on the app side with that. And it's a great way to get your clients involved and be engaged with the designs that you and your clients come up together. And the last one, so I'm just gonna say, okay, so where we started, but what's coming up next for us? One thing that a lot of users are requesting is to add price information. So when you show the design, client's like, oh my gosh, I love it. How much would that cost me is the next question. Lots of nods, so that's the correct assumption. So that is the next feature that we would like to add that information point to that link that you're showing them, so you can make that information visible or hide it. So when the time is there that the question is asked, you would have that information inside the app. So that is where we're going next. Now, we often get feedback, good or bad. We're happy to hear from you because I feel like Instant AR is not Praxik product, it's more of a community product because we're building this based on your needs and how you're using it. But if you find anything that is not working or you have requests or anything that we can help, this is a really quick way to get in touch with us. But also inside the app, when you download the app, there's a blue button. When you tap on it, it says, do you want to send feedback? Yes. Send the feedback, and then it gets to Charlie. And Charlie will reply, and when it's done, when it's fixed, he'll notify you so you know, okay, my problem is solved. There were a few bugs with iOS, the most recent one, so when they released it, AR was kind of not working or glitchy, so we took care of that, so now it's back and working well. But again, please try it and let us know how you like it. We have a few devices with us, so if any of you would like to stick around and actually drop the design, walk around it, and get a feel how it is, how it's done, the process, we have a few devices, so you're welcome to stay and test it. And one more thing I want to mention is I am hearing more and more that Instant AR kind of like, it starts with designers, people who have CAT, but then sometime ago, it got more to sales reps. They're using it more when they're talking with their clients. Not all those meetings are happening when you guys are there. So I am hearing more that other people are using it, but I don't know how to talk to them. So I would like to talk to them through you. I have flyers and my business cards here. So if you think someone in your dealership that just does sales but has no access to CET designer or don't know about Instant AR, please put them in touch with me or connect both of us so I can ask them questions how they're using Instant AR in their sales process and understand the workflow, because my understanding, every dealership does it differently. There is no one formula that fits everyone. So I kind of want to understand that process to see if we continue, what features do we need to add? Would it be more for designers? Would it be more for sales? Would it be a combination? So those conversations I need to have not only with you, but with the sales reps too. So for that, I'll need your help to, how do I talk to those people? All right, I'm gonna open for questions. I don't know how we're doing on time. 4 minutes. All right, perfect, yes?
Are you gonna support this on Android or just?
That's a great question. So what it happens, we're waiting for Android to release the software for which we need to run augmented reality. They're in the process of releasing a very beta version for developers to start playing around. As soon as we get our hands on that, and when we're ready to deliver at this level of quality, we'll release the Android version. So we're waiting for Android people to hurry up. That's, unfortunately, that's the reality we're in. Yes?
I had trouble downloading the tutorial version of it in Marketplace. How do you do that?
Tutorial?
Like you said, you can do a free trial of it.
Of the basic or pro?
Of the basic.
Basic is free for anyone. You don't need any confirmation.
Okay.
The pro, you need me to confirm, which I confirm.
Oh, okay. Okay, so.
Stick around, I'll confirm right away. Yes, if you ask for pro, I just need to confirm, and I'll do it right after during the break. I'll confirm everyone who I got the last hour. Other questions?
If it's really large drawing, does it tend to move slower the more symbols you have in it?
I'll let Charlie answer that. Oh, actually, he doesn't have a mic. We're recording this. So I'll do this. I'll interview you.
So for large designs, you're going to want to be careful because it's not going to, for bigger designs that the app can still support, it might get choppy, but for even bigger ones, your app will probably just crash because AR already is a pretty intense process, and so if you get a really big design, your app will just quit and it looks like it's broken. So just be careful about that. You'll get a warning if you're downloading a scene that's really big. It'll just say, just know that, this design might cause issues. But if you're, if there's some confusion, if you think this scene doesn't feel that big, feel free to send it to us. Feel free to send the link or the CET drawing. We have CET in the office, so we're always testing things, and we'll be happy to test that out and tell you what's going on.
So if anything crashes, a link, just email us that Instant AR link, and we'll take a look on our ends and give you answers. One thing that we find, plants, flowers, they cause those issues because they have a lot of polygons, and that is what it's increasing the size. So if you can stay away from them, that could be helpful. But we find sometimes taking just a few tweaks to your design that makes no big visual impact for the client to not even notice the differences, you can still use Instant AR for that. Great. You had a question?
It would just be great if what we saw was a rendered version. I know that's just, future.
So the same issue as with VR is that rendering those images would be really taxing on your phone, and it would move at a snail pace, and your phone would get crazy hot. So that's not something that we can support right now just because there's a limit to the technology in place. But, if there's a change in processors on your phone or all that stuff, hopefully that's something we can support in a couple years. But right now it's just too much stuff going on.
All right. And we have a long list of feature requests. So I would love to hear what features you would like to see in the next release. We're going to make a few updates to the extension so you can have QR codes and start using them. But then what will be next. So we would love to hear your feedback on the next request, but please try it first so you get that experience. I think we are right on time to be done with the session. So thank you, everybody.